What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Josh Talks. Joining me this week, manager extraordinaire, and maybe the owner of one of the greatest introductions that you've ever heard in professional wrestling, my buddy Ricardo Rodriguez, hanging out with me. How are you, sir?
Pretty good, especially after that introduction. That was very lovely. And normally when I get interviewed, I do get I kind of let the interviewer do the introduction, but we got to make it special. So we got to try it one more time. But so no. I'm not gonna do it because I gotta get paid to do this.
That's fair.
My boss pays me to do that. So I'm gonna let you give it one more shot to redeem yourself.
To do like a Ricardo Rodriguez type introduction.
Yes.
Okay. I can't roll R's though, so bear with me on that. I can already tell you that's not going to happen. All right.
I believe in you.
Hold on. Sip of water. Hold on. Please welcome my guest, Ricardo Rodriguez.
There we go. Much better. You totally redeemed yourself. I dig it.
Scale 1 to 10. How did I do?
You did well.
I'll accept it. You did well. Hey, thanks for spending some time with me today. I know we're all in this crazy times right now. We're all just kind of like locked in and figuring stuff out to do. But I appreciate you spending some time with me.
Dude, you definitely come in a weird time because like I got nothing else to do. So I was like, I guess this will be my good deed for the day.
There you go. I'm glad I can make you feel good about yourself. Hey, I want to go start this off. I know I've heard bits and pieces of this story before, but for people who haven't heard it, I was wondering if you can just kind of tell a story on how the Ricardo Rodriguez character really was born on that famous day that you were there for tryouts and looking for tuxedos, and you obviously have the better details than I.
Well, I mean, obviously we've had this chat before, if I'm not mistaken, when we were coming back from AOW one day.
Yes, we worked together in a few various wrestling promotions over the years. Yeah,
and you and I have known each other, man, basically my entire career. Like,
that's about. I started. My first show was September of 2005. Was my very first show.
Yeah, I started in 2006, but I think we started working together when you were reffing over in Newhall for Battleground.
That sounds right. Probably it was like 07, I think, late 06, 07.
06, 07, something like that. So I just want to get that little backstory in before we go in. So you've known me for over 12 years, almost 14. And most everybody's already heard the story of how I did my tryout and at the Staples Center the day after SummerSlam in August 2010, and how basically my whole career with WWE started from a lie. I totally lied to them. They had asked me so many questions. I just completely lied because you're always told as your trainer is like, kind of like a fake it till you make it type of thing. It just kind of worked out for me. I did a tryout with WWE, and there were so many other guys who are, top guys who are actually under contract, whether with WWE or Impact or AEW, Ring of Honor, NWA, etc. And we all did a tryout. And eventually, after the tryout, I got pulled aside from the scout, the main talent scout at the time, whose name was Ty Bailey, and he had asked me if given the opportunity, if I was able to move to Florida, if I was offered a contract. Obviously, I told him yes. So that was it. That was just a tryout. It was, like I said, on a Monday. It was like around 2 in the afternoon at this point. We had been there for 3-4 hours already. I was contacted by Jesse Hernandez, who's he's a local promoter. Probably, if not at this point in time, the oldest running promoter, not by age, but in time.
One of the oldest running promotions, probably independent promotions, probably in the country, definitely in Southern California.
Yeah, definitely Southern California. So he offered me a tryout. I did the tryout, and then afterwards they had contacted another wrestler who was there at the tryout about doing this whole ring announcing deal for Alberto Del Rio's debut, which would be the following day in SmackDown in Bakersfield. And again, thank you, guy, because he said he couldn't make it. So then they had offered me the gig, and this is where the line comes in, because as a wise man once say, we lie, we cheat, we steal, right? Um, they had asked me if I've ever done a ring announce before, which what my character was back then. I was such a big fan of guys like Loki, Super Dragon, Muda. I never talked. I had
No.
never cut a promo in my life. So they're like, "Have you done ring announce before?" I was like, "Yeah, sure, of course I have." I don't know. I was such an introvert in school. Like most of my life, I was such an introvert. And then they were like, "Do you have a tuxedo?" I was like, "Sure," which I didn't. I went to a local, was it Goodwill, that was by my house, and I bought a cheap suit. And across the street was a bridal store, a bridal store. I bought a couple bow ties there, and then I hauled ass to Bakersfield. I did my tryout. They liked me. They invited me again for the next day because they were doing a double taping of SmackDown in Bakersfield and in Fresno. So I went up to Fresno, and it just went from there. And then 5 years later, well, basically almost 5 years later, I was there with the company. I was there for about it was roughly about 5 years. Um, and that was it.
How
And
many
that was it.
tuxes? How many tuxes would you say that you have owned?
Oh man, so many. And then if for those that I followed my career that you knew or with WWE knew that like I was getting beat up all the time. So I
Yeah.
had to constantly buy tuxedos. Thankfully they're all tux deductible because it was for work. Big mistake though. The very first tuxedo that I bought was super expensive because to me, I was in my head, I'm like, WWE, I have to be presentable. They'll know if it's fake. They'll know if it's
Hmm.
cheap. So I bought a really, well, for me, a really expensive suit. And then I want to say the first Hell in a Cell pay-per-view that we took part of, I want to say Alberto was facing Edge, or he had something with Edge, um, and they wanted to rip the sleeves off of my suit. So they had to like rig it. They had to take my suit, which is
Hmm.
expensive as hell, and they cut it. They rigged it, and then on TV at the pay per view, Edge ripped it off. So when that happened, my heart broke. Uh, my heart shrunk like 4 sizes, and I hated mankind. I hated humanity. And then my wallet cried. But then I discovered Burlington's, and then I realized I could get cheap suits there. So So that was my go-to at least 3 times a month. That was going to Burlington's to buy like a suit or pants because I would rip my pants all the time from getting tossed around, and then your legs flail, so they go.
You would you would think maybe like the seamstress or something like that, at WWE. You would think they would have something ready
Well,
because they know that you're going to keep doing it.
right, but keep in mind though, I was brand new, so I was at
Yes,
the
that's
bottom.
true.
I was bottom
That's
tier.
true.
I was bottom
Okay.
tier. So you know how that goes.
Yeah. Did you ever have any like botches on your intro? Like, was there ever any time, whether it's a live event or something like that, where all of a sudden you're doing the Del Rio intro, but all of a sudden like something gets caught in your throat, you cough or something along those lines?
Yeah. Like actually, the very first time that I did it, I knew I was so nervous and I couldn't remember his name for the life of me. I couldn't. It was a simple line. They gave me like 2 lines and then his name, and then I couldn't remember. And then if you ever go back to watch the very first episode, there was a small pause before his name because I couldn't remember it, and it was on TV. And I remember watching this episode of Friends with Joey Tribbiani, and then he goes, "If I ever forget or get stuck, I just," and then I say my line. so that just like completely clicked in my head when it was happening. So if you go back
I'm
and watch the very first episode, uh,
I'm
uh
I'm
the very
trying to think. I'm trying to think if that is like a compliment to Matt LeBlanc, or
I
if
don't
that is
know,
an
but
insult to you that you're trying to compare your styling to the goofball from Friends.
I don't know, but it worked out for me. Totally worked out. So so yeah, so go back and watch the very first episode that I was on of SmackDown, and I paused because I couldn't remember his name. Well, thankfully, when I turned, his his name was plastered all over the Tintron. So I was like, oh yeah, Alberto, not Alfredo. Alberto.
Oh my God! If you said Alfredo, oh,
Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
what could
So,
have possibly changed?
uh, I mean, I would probably wouldn't have been there past the day.
Yeah. So, one thing, a lot of people obviously you're best known as being Ricardo Rodriguez. However, during the time that you were in WWE, there once in a while was this other luchador that would compete. We'd occasionally see on TV. We'd see in NXT. The name was El Local. And to me, it had a very familiar wrestling gear. Can you tell us about the run of El Local and where the hell did they come up with the name El Local?
The name was a total stupid, because I say a lot of things all the time. I get in trouble for talking, and which ironically, so I get in trouble for talking a lot. The whole thing with the name, which by the way, I hate. I'm thankful for the opportunities that I was given, but at the same time, like, there's a lot of things that I regret about that character. I wish I could have done a little more. But I mean, I knew what my job was. It wasn't me. It was to help out the guys, or to make them look good, etc. Be the body to help them elevate. Which I get it. I totally get it. And I was thankful. But there's a little bit of selfishness in me that I wanted something for me too, I guess. Either way, that's neither here nor there anymore. The whole name happened because we were. I want to say. What was the first one? I think we were somewhere in Canada. They wanted me to go up against Sin Cara for Saturday Morning Slam.
Okay.
I think it was Saturday Morning Slam. And
when that show, you weren't even allowed to punch in the face. Right. I heard, yeah.
Right. That's why they wanted me with Sin Cara, because we could do all the lucha stuff, and nobody's punching. We're just all just arm drags and hurricanranas and head scissors, so like they're flying around, so there's no real punches. Yeah, so we were limited on that. That's a funny story too that we'll come back to later. So Road Dogg was our agent, and then he goes, "Hey, Ricardo, what name do you want?" And I was like, "Well, can I go with Chimera?" Because obviously that was my name on the independent.
That was your indie name, yeah.
Yeah. So can I go with Chimera? And then he's telling me, he's like, "Oh, we have to check with legal and stuff." And at the time, I'm thinking to myself, "Well, a chimera is a mythical creature from the Greeks. Yeah, from the Greeks. So it's kind of like saying Zeus or Jupiter. It doesn't belong to anybody. So like I could technically go by it, I think. I don't know. But either way, whatever. I was like, dude, it's whatever. Because I feared it was going to be like a one-off thing. I was like, just call me the local guy. I don't care. But he's like, so how do you, Road Dogg goes, well, how do you say it in Spanish? It's like, el local. He's like, oh, we'll just go with that. I was like, so and then they just stuck.
Oh God, that's an interesting way to have the name stick. Oh, sure. All right, so go back. So what is the other story that you were thinking of?
Yeah, so at that time, I want to say, I'm trying to put the things in my head, the timeline in my head. I want to say during that time, I believe Sheamus was one of the top guys. And they every now and then they will put like a main star, like at the time, like say like your Saturday Morning Slam or your main event or your what was the other one that they had? Superstar. Yeah, so they would need like the name whatever. So they'll put like a Cena, they'll put Randy, they'll put those guys. So they put Sheamus on Saturday Morning Slam, and obviously we all knew the rule of it's for kids, so no nothing to the head, nothing. And then here comes Sheamus, just bopping everybody.
Bro kick, yeah.
And exactly, bro kick. So I remember we were all sitting in the back. We're like, well, it's Sheamus. He can do whatever he wants. And I think the show went under relatively after that. Not because of Sheamus. I think whatever happened.
No, it was reported here by Ricardo Rodriguez. Sheamus was the reason that Saturday Morning Slam went out of business. You heard it here first. Exclusive. Dirt Sheets report that now.
Negative. Although, man, like here's the thing with the Dirt Sheets are wicked. Like they'll take something completely stupid.
Of course.
And then it's completely stupid. And then I've actually seen some like serious stuff that's happened, and I've been there. And then some of the stuff that I read on the Dirt Sheets, I'm like, and then I'm reading it, and I'm like, that's not anything how it happened. That is not anything what happened. And then obviously because all these internet nerds are reading what's happening, that's what they go off of. And then they build this idea or this belief when there's a whole bunch of us that were there, and we're like, that's not what happened. That's not what happened. But the internet already made up its mind.
Yeah. You actually were involved in a few different WrestleManias. And I remember specifically, I believe it was 27, because that was the one where it was Del Rio and Edge, which
That
I
was
think opened the show. Yeah,
yeah, in Atlanta,
yeah.
Georgia.
I remember I was out here, at like a big WrestleMania party with a lot of the SoCal wrestlers, and we're
Hmm.
tuning in all together for WrestleMania 27, and the start of the show is you, sir, in a tux, doing the intro, and we're all of us were just having like goosebumps, like, hey, it's one of us, and he's opening the show. I'm just kind of curious. Obviously, there's the nerves, there's the excitement going into it. How long until the intro or the match ended did it really sink into you that it was just like, oh my god, I just started a WrestleMania?
Well, thank you. Yes. So that was the first WrestleMania out of
Yeah.
several that we did, and that was the Atlanta Georgia Dome, and I want to say, the Georgia Dome. I think there was like 72 or 76,000 people. I think something like
Hmm.
that. Um, and it was unbelievable. And then not only that, I mean, granted, The Rock opened up WrestleMania, but we were the first match.
Yeah.
Uh, so just standing there in the middle of that ring, standing next to Justin Roberts, who introduced me, and then you're just looking and you see everybody all around you, and it's so surreal and it's unbelievable. But and yeah, obviously, of course, I was nervous. I was beyond nervous, and this
Of
is to
course.
me because obviously because of the year prior we were in Phoenix, and I had wrestled for Dragon Gate USA, the Mercury Rising event. I had two matches with them. And then I remember that trip we rode with Jeff Dino from Oceanside or from Oceanside
Hmm.
to Phoenix, and then I forget who was with me in the back of his truck because he had the camper in his truck. So we like bunkered up in the back of his truck, Mexican style, of course. And then so we did that whole trip. We were all like bunking in a hotel room, several of us. And then fast forward a year later, and now I'm in one of the main events matches of WrestleMania. So that was incredible to begin with. Um, so just knowing that already going into it was nerve wracking, and then to have Edge's last match at the time
Hmm.
because he was going to retire. We knew he was going to retire after that. Um, was awesome, and then after the match, we get to the back. We're all saying our thank yous and whatever. And I've said this before openly. Like, man, I cried like a little bitch. Um, I hugged Edge. I hugged Christian. And I'm hugging Christian, and then he's like, "Relax, man. Congrats. You're fine." I was like, "No, you guys don't understand what's going on. Like, you guys were in a match that was part of the reason why I wanted to do this."
Yeah.
And another thing, like I've said this many times before, like one of the match itself that made me go, "Oh, wow, I want to do this," was WrestleMania 17, the TLC match,
Hmm.
with the Hardy Boys, Edge and Christian, the Dudleys.
Sure.
Uh, so that was a match. I was like, "What the?" Like I want this is what I want to do. I want to do this, and and then to have that experience with Edge and Christian in my first WrestleMania, obviously alongside with one of my best friends Alberto, and then
Hmm.
Brodus, it was incredible. So like once that whole thing went down, I remember going back to the hotel room with my girlfriend, and then I'm sitting there, and then I remember she was like, "Are you okay?" I was like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah," because I just went numb. I completely went numb.
Hmm.
Uh, and I remember she's holding my hand, and then I'm just looking at her, and I'm looking back down on the floor, and I'm like, that was cool. Uh, so, um, so that was it was surreal, man. It was surreal. I'm grateful for it, and then to do it several more times, um, throughout the years was every time was special.
What are your thoughts? How do you feel that Edge is back now? Like
He's always been
being
see.
being that you had that last match with him at the
Yeah,
time.
yeah. I mean, he's not letting us have that moment for anymore, but no, but he was always cool with us. He was always great to us. Like I'm happy he's back, and then anybody that's been in any kind of sport for such a long time, in this case for him, wrestling, for others, whether it's soccer, football, baseball, basketball, when it's in your blood for so many years, and then you say you have to go, not because you want to, but because you're told you can't do it anymore. it's a big burden. It's a big monkey on your back. Because somebody just threw the wrench in, and then you're just like, it itches. It gives you that itch. You want to get back to it. You want to get back to it, no matter how much you tell yourself I can't anymore. I could probably die if I tried to do it again. But like you have that itch, and you want to do it again because it's in your blood at this point. Um, so I'm glad he's able to relive that. Uh, I know the situation coming this weekend with WrestleMania and the situation with the coronavirus and all that stuff. It's different. Um, but just being in that ring again, because that's for we're like a whole lot of us right now. It's only been like for me, like it's been 3 weeks already since we haven't trained because everything's shut down. Well, 2 weeks since you shut down, but it was almost basically like 3 weeks for most of us since we haven't wrestled or none of that. So like we're just like, damn it, I wanna just like I don't know, jump on something. Um, so and I'm like every now and then like I'm sitting on my couch now, but I'll see that table, and then in my head I was like, I bet I can moonsault on it.
Don't break your table. Don't do it.
So no, I'm happy for Edge, man. He was always such a great sport to us. He was always kind and giving. So I'm happy for him.
And as the years went on after that match, there's some where you turned face, and then even at some points you were on commentary, like with the Spanish commentating team. And go ahead.
No, I mean I did the Spanish and the English commentary table, so I was a jack of all trades, man.
Yeah, you were hanging out, doing everything.
Yeah, ring-announcing, backstage interviewer, Spanish and English commentating. So I was all over the place, and then that was the thing though. Like I wanted to learn everything. Anybody that was there with me can tell you, like I was most of the time always the first one in the ring, because as soon as I would get there, I would go check in, change into my workout stuff, and then go to the ring and then just kind of hang out. If the ring wasn't there or wasn't ready, I would go to like the sound guy or the music guy or the pyro guy or the guys building the stage so I can see how they're setting stuff up, because I wanted to learn as much as I could, not because I wanted to be nosy. I mean, yeah, I was being nosy, but I wanted to learn as much as I can because to me, my thing was because very few people like have that WWE life for a very long time or for like the rest of the careers. Very few people have it. Mm-hmm. So I figured, well, once my time is done, if it comes to an end, I know I can take what I learned here at WWE, which is obviously the largest wrestling company in the world, and then take it elsewhere. Which I mean, it did, and it paid off. So I wanted to learn as much as I could. So I don't know. I forgot what you asked me.
I was starting to ask them, and then you just kind of went on, but that's fine because you kind of answered what I was going to ask. I ain't going to interrupt you, man. If you start talking, I'm going to shut up. Yeah. Now, so while you're doing all this stuff, eventually, your career in WWE does end. Are you able to kind of break down at all how that went, where it ended, as far as because refresh my memory, was it a release? Was it just no renewal of a contract, or what was it?
No. They never fired me. Like I just one day, there was a mixture of a lot of things of like payments and then situations where I was taken off TV, but I was on a different pay system than most of the guys. And then for a good almost 8-9 months, I was telling talent relations, I was like, hey, I need to go back to my salary pay system because basically right now I'm not making anything because I'm not on the house shows. I'm just coming to TV, and on the expenses that I have, on travel plus expenses I have at home, it's not adding up. Like I'm not making anything. I need to go back to my salary.
When were you on salary compared to like the pay per position?
It's a weird. Let me see if I can try and explain it the best as possible, and hopefully, you guys can follow. So, at the time, there was two different pay systems. There was like the salary. So and I don't know. I'm just making BS numbers right now, so don't take anything. Let's say, for instance, and this is totally not true. Let's say you're making $500 a week, right? That's your salary, $500 a week, and then so you're making what for $2,000 a month? Let's just say $2,000 a month.
Sure.
Okay, that's your salary. So you're gonna get those if you stay on a salary system, you get those $2,000 a month. Boom. All right, cool. And then anything that you make extra, let's say you make it a special appearance, or your royalty check comes in, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
those that let's say you make on that extra piggy bank, you make an extra 5,000, right? They won't give you those 5,000 until the end of the year.
Okay.
So that's for like safety, like a piggy bank.
Mm-hmm.
Um, or the other pay system is you get paid everything that you make within that week. Um, which is great when you're doing a lot of stuff.
Sure.
You're not doing anything, that pay system sucks.
Yeah.
Uh, which is what I was on. And for months, I kept begging and begging and begging. Hey, this is not working. I need to get put back on my salary. I need to get put back on my salary. And they just kept telling me, okay, okay, we'll take care of it. And then come 2 weeks later, they wouldn't take care of it, and I would keep going back to the office. Hey, we need to take care of this. I'm not making anything right now. I'm taking out of my savings to come to work. This is not how it's supposed to work. Um, so that's basically how it went down for, yeah, man. Good, yeah, good 8 9 months, maybe 8 months roughly.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then I kept pitching ideas, and then like the writers would keep blowing me off, and then it was hard to get like somebody to sit down with me and talk to me. Hey, I got these ideas. Can I sit with somebody? It wouldn't happen. So like, and this is after like they had split me with Alberto. Um, so basically, I was on my own, which
Mm-hmm.
okay, I get it. Whatever, I get that. Um, but I couldn't get like a sit down with anybody. So with the frustration of that, with the frustration of my pay not being fixed, it got to a point. I was like, man, I just woke up one day. I was like, this is not fun anymore. I'm just not gonna go. So I did it, and I called the office. I was like, hey, I just want to say thank you, and I explained the whole thing again. I was like, this
Yep.
is what's going on. I tried to talk to you guys. Everybody's blowing me off, and then I'm just gonna say, no, thank you very much. I had a great time. Thank you for the experience. But I think I can, I'm still young enough. I'm pretty sure I can go and do this somewhere else at the meantime, and then boom, whatever. So then they're like, oh, after a couple of days, they call me back. They're like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
fine, we get that. We'll grant your release. You're always welcome back, and da 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 da. And that was it. And
Have
that
you
was it.
ever have you ever tried talking with them about trying to go back in any of the
Ah,
roles? No.
I mean, don't get me
Ever
wrong.
in?
No, 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 no. I mean, there's always the whole thing of never say never. Like, of
Yeah.
course, I would love to. I would love to.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to go back if possible as like an agent or a trainer, because
Okay.
that's always been my passion. That's always been my passion, teaching. That's what I do now. I teach.
Yeah.
I've taught literally all over the world. I've opened up schools and markets in other countries. Um,
Yeah, and that,
so
that was actually gonna be the next thing I was going to bring up actually because I mean, and being that like I know you personally, so like as far as personal social medias and things like that, obviously we would always chat, catch up from time to time, but I felt I really saw a change in. I mean, it's not hard to say like a change of attitude or some kind like that, just from text of status updates or things like that. But I really felt like there was a very positive change from things that I was seeing from you when you went to India and you started you doing that work training at Great Khali's
yeah,
school and promotion.
yeah.
Can you kind of elaborate on what that experience was like, and can you can you clarify for people whenever they hear me say Great Khali and wrestling school how that's not a bad thing?
Not, no, no, yeah, yeah, no. I mean, I can totally get why people would think that. I can totally get why people would get that. But Kali was never the teacher. He was never a teacher.
Hmm.
They like, and also people don't understand how big of a name and a star Kali is in India. Just
Hmm.
just picture those videos of like the Beatles back in the day coming out of the plane, and you see all these screaming fans. Like I'm not kidding. That was Kali in India. He anywhere we would go, he would be surrounded, marauded by people, bombarded by a whole sea of people. There were so many times we would go out to eat, and he would bring a whole bunch of us to eat, almost like a good 20, 30 people to eat, and never paid a dime because the owner of the restaurant just wanted a picture with Kali. Um, so the name of Kali over there is beyond incredible, and something that like I wish more people can see. So just attaching his name to a school is going to get a lot of attention. He
Sure.
was a movie star. He was a movie star in India. He was an honorary police officer in India, kind of like what I think Shaquille O'Neal is like in Miami. I think.
He does a million different things. Man.
Yeah. So he's one of those. So there would be people that would drive hours just to go see Kali at the school, and Kali would make him wait for like 2-3 hours while Kali was in the office just sitting there just watching TV. Um, but but no, before I went in, there was two other trainers, both from here in the U.S. But I think one of them I think lasted like a month, and the other one lasted maybe like 2 weeks before they said screw this, I'm going back home. And I totally get it because it is a culture shock. It's very different than anything here in the U.S. But I mean, well, first of all, I'm Mexican, so I've lived in Mexico, and I grew up poor, so like a lot of the stuff that was going on over there didn't phase me because I was like, oh well, I grew up like this. Um, so yeah, it was very different. It was very different than so if you're used to a certain lifestyle here in the U.S., it's very different over there, and it's something that coming back, I learned to appreciate things a whole lot more. Um, that that's another thing. Anyways, but yeah, so I was there for 6 months, and then when I started there, I had maybe about let's say 25 people, students. When I started there, and all of them, like obviously they didn't have school before, they didn't have wrestling back before, so they were all entry level, like completely entry level. I had to reteach some of them stuff that they had learned prior. That during that gap between the trainers, they kind of try to teach themselves, and they taught themselves wrong. Um, so retaking all those, and then after the 6 months when I left, we had a close to almost 100 students, and that was up to myself. There was me by myself teaching all these students. um, when I got there, I made a promise to the kids that by the time that I left, what I wanted for them was A, to put on shows, and then B, for them when they go to the market, people will stop them and ask them for autographs and pictures. um, Within 3 months, because I got there October, December, November, December. Yeah. Within 3 months, we started running shows, like local little shows at the academy. Um, and as time went on, we started maybe like we probably had 10 people. I think like the first show, student show, and then
Yeah.
as the time went on, they had more and more and more and more. And then when that happened, I told Kali, I was like, "Hey, Kali, this is kind of what I want to do. Let me know what you think. I want to run like a small, like a, I want to run big shows. Because I knew Kali had the sponsors. If he wanted to, he had the sponsors, he had the funds, and the name. Most importantly, he had the name. And over there, WWE always sees number one company, followed by Impact. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe sports. It's cricket, WWE, Impact, and then like soccer and other stuff that they have over there. Um, so I was like, okay, so the market is here. They have the market of, India has what, like 1 billion people.
Right.
Um, so the market is here, and then WWE had not been there for like 14 years prior to that, so they didn't have any wrestling. They had like Rocky King, I believe, years prior, but I know
hmm
that didn't last very long. Um, so so yeah, so we kind of put that in motion. And I know he got a hold of Jinder Mahal, who is now, was it with WWE still, right? But I think he's injured at the
Yeah.
moment.
He
So
is right now. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, so he was working with the American talent on this side for the big shows, and then I was working with the students in India to get them prepared, because what we wanted to do was put our students with the flyings, the international wrestlers, and we did that. We mixed our students with international guys, and I'm proud that after those 6 months, we did three big venue shows that drew, I think, a total of close to almost 100,000 people, roughly. Um,
Guys that just started training 6 months prior.
yeah, yeah.
That's
So
insane.
yeah, because the very first show that we had like 23,000 people. I believe the second one had about 52,000, and then the third one, and only because of weather, only because it started raining, like right before the show, we had about 13,000 people roughly, in those three
Like,
shows.
I'm just trying to think. those students, week one, learning to lock up, if that, in week one, and 6 months later, they're performing in front of 50,000 people. That just doesn't happen.
No, but we made it happen.
Yeah.
But mind you, we were training, man, dude. We were training because we had the classes divided. In the mornings, we started like at 9 o'clock in the morning, and then the second class would come in around 1, and then the last class would come in around 5, roughly something like that. So I was in the ring from like 8 o'clock in the morning to like 10 o'clock at night for the most part. That's 6 days a week. Sundays was our day to go to the market to get food or supplies for the week. Um, so we go into the town, get our stuff for the week, and then come back. Uh, yeah, and then there was a couple of the guys. There was a couple of guys that would stay and train the whole day because they had a dojo there as well. I'm sorry, like housing. They had housing there as well, so they would stay for the whole training, the whole day. And so like obviously you can tell who really wants to do this, and then who's putting the effort. So obviously those are going to be the people that we're going to put in bigger matches, because you can tell that they're putting the effort and they're learning. And
Yeah.
yeah, so that's what happened. And then after I left, there is a current NXT wrestler referee that goes by the name of Daryl Sharma, who was teaching over at the Santino Morella School in Toronto, who was there for 6 months after me. So he took over after me, and then there were multiple other wrestlers that came in from the U.S. After Daryl left. So we took shifts in 6 months, but by then, I used to get into arguments with Kali, and I still do, about like better living for the kids. I was like their Bernie Sanders. So I was like, man, you gotta take care of these guys. Like they don't have anything. They're sacrificing so much, and then you're treating them like garbage. Um, give us a water filter, man. Um, anyway, so yeah, so like the living conditions weren't that great when I first got there. When I left, they weren't the best, but they were better. Again, because I just kept getting onto Kali's head, like, dude, what the. But anyways, that's something else. But no, I'm thankful for what happened. I'm thankful for everything that went down. And then three of those guys right now are that I started training are in the PC at the moment. They just got signed not too long ago. And then there's two others that got signed for NXT UK. So they should be making, once this whole thing passes, the COVID-19 thing happens or passes, and they can fly, they're heading over to England to start training over there. So
are you considering are you ever considering going back over to the school in India then?
When Kali pays me. that's so that
all right,
first.
All right, everyone. Everyone's got to blow up Kali's Twitter. Tell him you got to pay Ricardo.
Yeah, it's not even like that. It's just no. I mean, I love those kids, man. They were my kids. So if given the opportunity, of course I would go back. It was a very rewarding experience and something that I would love to relive again, with somebody else, with other students, to see them improve. Because I still keep in contact with many of them. Although they forget there's a time difference from over there to here, and I will get like random WhatsApp calls or Facebook calls at 3-4 in the morning. And then yeah, but other than that, they're bless them. They're great.
Well, I can't tell you how thankful I am for you being able to spend some time doing this interview. Because honestly, I mean, there's some of this stuff that I did already know, but a lot of the things that you said I didn't even know. So if I didn't know it, I'm sure there are people watching that didn't know it either. So thank you for taking this time. How can people reach out to you as far as your social media platforms? And do you have anything? I know obviously we're all kind of bunkered down at the moment, but is there anything tentatively in the works that you want to try to promote that you maybe seen teaching, appearing in, or whatever?
Yeah. I mean, like, here's the thing. Like, unfortunately, I had a lot of things coming up. With WrestleMania being canceled, that was a big hit. That we all took a big hit with that one. I had a big European tour next month, or technically this month now. that went under, and then that sucked because I missed Europe, and then that was gonna be a big one. So I don't know how long this thing's gonna last. None of us know how long this thing's gonna last.
Right.
So I guess at the time everything's being held off. So whatever big thing that I had is on hold at the moment. So I don't have anything to plug as far as shows coming up because I don't know if it's gonna happen anymore. Obviously, once this whole thing is done, like I'm hoping to go back to teaching because again, like I said, that was my thing. Like I love teaching. So I don't know, but at the meantime, like my Twitter is still RRWE, and I haven't changed it only because I don't want to lose the blue check mark.
Sure.
And then I don't want to lose the blue check mark. And then on Instagram, it's the letter J _ Rodriguez 818.
All right. So thank you again, Ricardo. Now I know you said I have to pay you to do any type of intro thing, but like to close it out, can we do something? Whether it's just saying to subscribe to this page, if you want to put my gimmick over Christian Rosenberg, say Josh, anything of the sort. Could you do a little thing to close this out?
Damas y caballeros, ladies and gentlemen, por favor, please subscribe, add, and favorite anything that's related to Christian Rosenberg now.
All right. Well, and that's the gimmick. Christian Rosenberg's a gimmick, but obviously the YouTube's Josh Tariff. But that's fine either way.
Well, that one.
Yeah. Everything's fine because I got a Pro Wrestling 2 store too anyway. So thank you so much for hanging out, Ricardo. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Josh_Tariff. Like, subscribe, tell everyone about this interview because Ricardo shared some insight on stuff, guys, that other wrestlers need to know about. So share it. Thanks so much, and we will see you later. Thank you, sir.
Adios.